Hey guys, welcome to day number 41. Today I am deep in the void. I am deep in just that place of blah, like no creative energy coming through. I don't know how many times I've tried to sit here and shoot this video. A lot. And I have all these ideas, right? The ideas are there, but there's no energy supporting them. So the ideas just come out so flat. And so then I just turn the camera off and I'm like, what am I supposed to talk about? And so I think I'm supposed to talk about the void and why I think a lot of us can visit the void and what it means for me right now through what I discovered in a session with a beautiful lightworker this morning and some of the things that she was going through. And the reason I resonated with it is because I was also going through it, and then I felt it come up in my meditation today. And it's that we are all, if you're watching this channel, you are probably so afraid of how powerful you are. Like, we are all so fucking powerful. Like, we're these infinite divine beings that it scares the shit out of our mind. It scares our human to, like, literally to death. And there's a kernel of truth in everything the mind tells us, right? And everything the ego tells us, there's always a little bit of truth. For example, so the ego will say, if you harness all your power, if you connect to your power, I will die, I will be obliterated. And this is true. Like, aspects of our ego, the aspects of the old stories, the old conditioning, the limiting beliefs, the beliefs of unworthiness and not good enough and not lovable, these things will perish. These things will die when we harness our power, when we open to our infinite nature, when we allow ourselves to expand fully. Those things have to die. And so the mind, which is a survival machine, it tries to convince us to stay small. It tries to keep us small because it's afraid of expanding, because it can say, are you like, this bad thing will happen or this will happen. And so it plays a loop of fearful thoughts. And if we identify with those thoughts and if we believe them, then what we do is we keep ourselves from connecting to our power. And our power is in our body. This is where all the new earth grids are. This is, when I'm talking about new earth, when I'm talking about activating new earth grids, I'm feeling it in my body lately. And I'm feeling this is the power. And sometimes this will keep us from here up because it doesn't want us to connect to our truth, to our infinite nature, to our true, divine, like, expanded nature. And so what it will do is it will kind of numb us out sometimes from the neck down. And it will kind of keep us up here. And we might have lots of spiritual truths. We might have a third eye and a crown opening. We might see the world for what it really is. We might know that we're the absolute. We might know that none of this is real, that it's an illusion, that it's a divine play. We might see all that. But it's easy to see all that and get stuck in the void if we haven't found a home in the heart, if we haven't found a home in the body. And at first it can feel hard to find that home in the body. It can feel hard to connect to our power because it can feel so numb in here. Because there's so much in here that, and this is an unconscious thing, there's so much in our body from past lives, karma, what's been handed down to us through genetics, our conditioning, trauma in this life, pain in this life, suppressed anger and fear and sadness and grief and all that in this life even. There's so much of it that our unconscious aspects in the mind, our unconsciousness will not let us feel it for that fear of being obliterated, for that fear of it's too much. But here's the thing. To access, the reason It's like there's so much power in our bodies to be accessed. There's like these new grids waiting just to be tapped into, waiting for us to press the right buttons. Our heart, when it opens, the power that radiates through an open heart is like 100. I think in a horse, it's like literally 1,000 times more than the frequencies that radiate from their mind. And and you can feel that in your own body when your heart is open. So there's so much power in the body, but the thing is, we have to feel all of these powerful emotions, all these powerful traumas and fear and anger and this powerful, powerful anger, powerful sadness and powerful fear to access that connection to the body, to really find a home in the body and to connect to our power. We really have to do the inner work of going through the layers, that are keeping us from finding this home. And we really have to open to these layers with a fearlessness, with a fearless embrace of all of that stuff that we've tried to deny and not feel, and that the mind has unconsciously told us that it's too scary and too powerful and too overwhelming to feel. Because when we openly embrace and when we are fearless about welcoming the darkness, welcoming the heaviness, we start to retrain the mind. Two things. We retrain and re-educate the mind, and we also allow those fearful parts of our identity that we are believing, that we're giving our power of belief to. We allow those aspects of our mind that tell us that there's too much in here to feel. We allow them to peacefully dissolve. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I said peacefully dissolve, and I'm thinking about how my fearful patterns dissolve. It's not always peaceful. Just like right now in the world, the beliefs in separation, the things that are harmful to others and are harmful to the environment and that are just not good for the soul and not good for humanity. If you notice, as they start falling away, as they start dissolving, they get louder and louder and more intense. And that's what's happening right now. They're putting up their best fight, because those old patterns, it's just their nature. They don't want to fall. And you'll find the same in your mind. When those old patterns those old patterns that tell you that what is in the body is too much for you to feel, when those old patterns that tell you that connecting to your power will be too overwhelming because you're going to become too expansive and you're going to become too vulnerable and too exposed and your heart's going to be open too much and you're going to feel too much, those old patterns, when we open in the body, when we start finding a home in there, those old patterns start getting louder and louder and louder. And it's like when they're screaming and when there's a real thought storm, real uncontrollable crazy thoughts, that's when they're about to fall. If we can stay open, if we can not give our power of belief to them, if we cannot just take our awareness and contract on every limited belief, every fearful thought, if we can stay open, if we can bring our consciousness into the heart, if we can just keep feeling into the heart, even when there's that burning pain of that child who is never seen, when we can keep feeling into the heart, even though there's that high school kid who got his heart broken and stomped on and didn't know how to heal, and he just shoved all his pain down, or she shoved all her pain down. If we can feel that kid's pain, we'll start to find our home there. We'll start to re-educate that pain. We'll start to integrate it, and then we start to connect to our power. If we can come into the solar plexus and we can feel that searing anger in the solar plexus, because that's where the root of our power is, the solar plexus. So that's where you're going to find a lot of suppressed and repressed anger. If we can feel that anger of that little boy who was never heard and was always told to just shut up when he started talking about something he was passionate about, or that little girl who was always told to act a certain way, even though it wasn't who she was, but she had to act that way, for her survival. So she had to shove all that anger down. If we can feel that anger, and if we can be there with it, with a relaxed awareness, without believing the thoughts that come up that say, you're not strong enough to feel this. You need to stop because this is overwhelming. If you can allow those thoughts to be there and just let them dissolve on their own. I know it can be hard. Just let them have their movement while you're rooted in your feeling center. That is when we can start to really start to heal our inner wounds. And through healing those inner wounds and losing identification with every negative and fearful and limited thought, that's when we start to root into our power. And that's when we can really start to express our authenticity fully. And we can start to just open our heart and feel that we are just becoming an apple tree. Like an apple tree just keeps making delicious apples. It doesn't wait to see if people think they taste good. It doesn't wait to even if no one's coming to eat them, it doesn't try to convince people to come eat them. It just keeps making apples. And what, I've used this metaphor before, but what I'm getting at is when our heart's open, is when we're connected to our power. Just the act of giving and sharing love, giving and sharing our love through creativity, through kindness, through compassion, through speaking our truth when it's necessary. Just that act of giving, when we have an open heart and we're anchored and rooted in our power and connected to our power, that is all the nourishment we need. That is just that pure act of giving is so nourishing that we let go of what we hope to receive, what we hope to extract. Because that's true power. It's just knowing you have the power to give and to share love. The part in you that needs to extract it from others, from accomplishments, from whatever, money, you know what I mean, everything out here, and we all do it. The part in us that does that are those parts in you that you've suppressed and repressed, that weren't heard or were told to shut up or out of survival just had to be buried. Those are the parts that learned they needed things out here to feel good. But you can retrain those and you can connect back to your power and you can become who you truly are. And I hope that this video was helpful. So in the void, it's a beautiful time to just sit down, close your eyes, listen to the silence and receive and receive and receive. Sometimes our nervous systems need a little break because of all the light we're taking in, because the grids that are activating are so powerful. So take your time with this, relax, go into your heart, connect to your power, and live an amazing life. I love you all so much. Namaste.